Next, I want to introduce you to Representative Darren Soto. He's also one of the co-chairs of the Blockchain Caucus. He is from my home state of Florida, and he is on the Committee of Energy and Commerce and Natural Resources.
You know, I want to welcome everybody from the digital chamber here to Washington, and I think you're seeing a couple common themes. One, your timing is impeccable, given the Libra hearings that have happened this week. You know, I first ended up getting much more involved in the tech space last term after we saw the infamous Facebook Zuckerberg hearings, where the secret came out that Congress doesn't know much about technology. In my defense, the House sounded a little better. The Senate sounded like they were reading cue cards from their interns, like, how does the Facebook make money? And where do I post on my wall at home? And I think that the key is when I got home that night, my wife was like, man, they don't really know much about it. You should get involved in it. And of course, many of us who are, you know, youngish for Congress, grew up in the Nintendo, Sega generation and are very acclimated and comfortable with technology. But I don't know what's more scary, members of Congress dealing with blockchain or the greatest tech minds dealing with Congress. So I applaud you all for being here today. A couple themes. We saw whether it was the Facebook hearings a while ago or the Libra hearings this week, there's fear. You know, and there's always going to be fear when we're dealing with new innovation. When we had a huge leap forward in the internet back in the late 90s, early 2000s, we saw disruption in industries and in certain jobs, and we saw creation of other jobs. And one of the big things that we're working on is our AI Jobs Act, which not only works to develop and identify new jobs for the future technology economy, but identify some of the areas that will be disrupted, because the federal government and the United States in general can do a better job of looking at the stuff in advance, because while all of you understand where the technology and the economy is going, there's a lot of families across America who may not fully realize yet that they're about to be left behind, and we want to make sure that they're ready to be educated and participate in the new economy. We see a generation gap. We see, particularly, it's more pronounced in the Senate, but folks who grew up with laptops and with personal computers and with surfing the internet and know that Google could be a verb, you know, we have a different perspective than those who may have been in Congress at the time that these things were really coming up. In addition, there's security concerns, which is ironic because cryptocurrency and blockchain technology create a fixed ledger that can't be erased afterwards, and actually provides the integrity for internet transactions and for any various number of things that you could do with blockchain. But Congress doesn't know that. That's one of the things that you're going to want to talk about today. And trust. You know, there were worries from the hearings the other day that we would have a total rival parallel currency. And with the U.S. dollar being the foundation of the world economy, and along with our great military and our innovative technology and economy, some of the reasons why we help lead the world, there's a lot of worry that if the U.S. dollar was somehow replaced, which I don't think it'll be, I think it'll just be supplemented by cryptocurrencies, that could lead to instability as well. Cooperation will be key. Particularly when it came to the Libra hearings, there was concern about the lack of cooperation and the intrusion of foreign actors like Russia into the 2016 elections through some of these new technologies. So that's going to be key. But I think Representative Schweiker, and you saw Congressman Foster and others talk about it, the most important thing is the vision and the applicability of a lot of these technologies to solve some of the key issues facing our nation, whether it is human-caused climate change, whether it is having a more secure transactions over the internet, whether it is resolving healthcare and logistics throughout our nation. We have put forward 2 bills to really help with the cryptocurrency market here in the United States. One of the big red flags for a lot of us is that right now cryptocurrency firms are spending on average, the startups, half on legal. And while I'm a lawyer, and I think that's a great prospect for our profession, obviously that doesn't bode well for the United States being a good venue right now for developing cryptocurrency firms. So Congressman Davidson and I put forward the Digital Taxonomy Act and the Token Taxonomy Act, which together establish jurisdictions of when cryptocurrency is a security, when it's a currency, and whether it's a future or commodity. And it also establishes jurisdiction between the FCC, or excuse me, the SEC, the FTC, and the CFTC, so that we can have basic rules of the road. And we expect to have hearings over the next couple months. And while we've had some leadership on both sides of the aisle, again, mostly generational in nature, the gap, you've had members of our caucus, both sides of the aisle, stand up to say that we need to embrace this technology. I worry about governments that don't share the same values that we have dominating this space in the future. Governments that may profile their citizens, that don't have a free press, that don't believe in capitalism, that don't believe in equal rights for everybody regardless of their background. And that's one of the reasons we must and we have to prevail in these areas. While the laws have been difficult to pass so far, we've had a lot more success in the appropriations process. We've gotten 6 new legislative items into this appropriations bill dealing with cryptocurrency and blockchain in general, including the update of the IRS virtual currency tax guide within 180 days, $3 million more for labs, CFTC, and reporting recommendations on how to better protect consumers and promote American competitiveness in cryptocurrency, FDA blockchain food tracing programs, as well as encouraging DARPA and the Department of Defense to utilize blockchain technology in defending our country. So while you see a lot of the big bills that are garnering headlines being in big battles, we are carefully plodding along behind the scenes, getting our agencies to adopt these technologies and having success both last term and this term in getting those things passed. So that's where a lot of the movement is right now, is in encouraging the agencies. But ultimately today, I hope that as you all go around and get to talk to different members of Congress, that you'll encourage them to support the Digital Taxonomy Act and the Token Taxonomy Act so that we could establish the jurisdiction and definitions that we need to have a certain market here in the United States. And just by you being here, I'll end where I began. It's a big victory because by sitting down and talking to different members of Congress, we have to overcome this fear. We have to establish security. We have to establish trust and cooperation. And above all else, we need to talk about the vision of the complex, both financial transactions and major issues facing the human race that could be solved through both cryptocurrency and blockchain technology, along with artificial intelligence. So welcome, everybody. Good luck. You're going to do great today.